Welcome to the What's New presentation for MDA 8.7.1. My name is Matthias Gekeler. At ETAS, I'm the Product Manager for MDA. In the present video, I'm going to demonstrate the new features and improvements listed here. In the description below the video, you can find the corresponding jump marks. Let's start with some improvements for the oscilloscope. MDA supports already to define per measurement file one color. This facilitates the comparison of signals from different files. Additionally, MDA 8.7.1 allows in the oscilloscope to hide all signal curves from the same file with just 2 clicks. The signals remain in the oscilloscope. And also cursor values are shown for the hidden signals. A small improvement was done for the zooming behavior. In the past, the first direction of the mouse movement defined the kind of zooming, namely whether it is done in X or in Y direction. Now the starting position for the zooming operation is marked by crosshairs, and the horizontal and vertical distance to the current mouse position is measured. Dynamically, the larger distance defines the zooming direction. So you can easily switch whether a zoom of the value axis or the time axis shall be done. By the way, for the value axis, the algorithm for the shown axis values was improved. The decimals of each value are adapted automatically. In this manner, adjacent figures are always different. And the improvement is valid for both figures in ordinary style and in exponential representation. Another change relates to the definition of the exact axis range. In the Properties window, you can set the desired minimum and maximum values manually. Now you can enter the values in ordinary or in exponential style. And, if needed, MDA will automatically convert the entered figures into the style of the axis. Moreover, the display of the minimum and maximum values at the axis was improved. As long as the tick mark is in the visible range, also the minimum or maximum value will be shown completely. The last enhancement I'd like to demonstrate is about pauses. To make pause events clearly visible, vertical lines and pause icons are displayed. Additionally, with MDA 8.7.1, the signal curves in the oscilloscope are discontinued during the time range of a pause event. As in case of the start of recording, the signal curve is drawn again from the first sample after the end of the pause. Also, no cursor values will be given as long as there is no signal curve drawn. It is not necessary that a pause event signal is added to the oscilloscope. Signal curves are discontinued always for the time range of pause events. Please keep in mind that the gap shown in the oscilloscope does not represent the actual duration of the pause. In Inca exists a user option which allows to define the visible duration of the pause. Typically, this option is set to 1 second, independently from the real break time. The next topic is about adding a comment to layers. Configurations often include several layers with cryptic names. To document what a layer is meant for, a comment can be added to each layer. From the Layers context menu, the Information Center can be opened. There you just need to enter a description. Subsequently, an icon is shown at the layer itself and in the Configuration Manager at the layer node. The tooltip of the icon shows the entered description. Already since some versions, a description can be entered for the configuration. This is now also visible by the icon in the Configuration Manager and in the File Explorer. Additionally, I'd like to mention that the layer command will be included if you copy and paste a layer. Thus, the new feature allows to create and exchange easily descriptive information for layers. In the following section, I will demonstrate an improvement for exchanging instruments between configurations. Let's assume you have created an oscilloscope and configured the signals to your needs. Now you want to reuse this instrument in another configuration. So you use the copy and paste operation in the configuration manager. But the new target configuration includes two measurement files. Therefore, MDA 8.7.1 opens a mapping dialog. Here you can define from which of the files in the target configuration the pasted signals shall be taken. In case you want to create two instruments with the same set of signals but from different files, just repeat the paste operation. It is also possible to copy instruments with signals from several files. Again, after the paste operation, the mapping dialog appears. In this example, I have selected on purpose a target configuration with only one measurement file. Before we see the consequences for this case, let's complete the mapping for the selected file. It can happen that after the file mapping, also the device mapping dialog is needed. For details about the device mapping dialog, please watch the combined video of MDA 8.6.5 and 8.6.6. Eventually, you have provided in both mapping dialogs sufficient information to enable the signal mapping. So MDA will reassign the signals in the pasted instruments to the defined measurement files. But, as mentioned, there were not enough files. Consequently, the signals which refer to the missing file will appear in no-match state. This can be useful as well. Either you want to replace the placeholder for the missing file by another measurement file, or you need only the signals from the one file and want now to clean up the no-match signals from the second file. Then you can use the context menu of the missing file to remove selectively the no-match signals referring to it. And afterwards, the superfluous file entry disappears. In a nutshell, the new mapping dialog allows to exchange instruments between configurations more flexibly. There are some improvements for the CAN bus trace add-on. With the optional add-on, CAN bus trace files in BLF format can be loaded and combined with a description file. The description file is used to interpret the data from the trace file. The resulting signals are listed in the Variable Explorer and can be used like ordinary signals from a measurement file. Now, with MDA 8.7.1, also CAN bus trace files in ASC format can be loaded. Additionally, the dialog was reworked to allow to load just the trace file. Then three basic signals are derived from the trace file. To display the information, these signals can be added to a table instrument. For each timestamp of the trace file, you can read the bus ID, the frame ID, and the payload. To follow the changes of a specific frame ID in MDA 8.7.1, still a workaround is needed. Simply create a calculated signal with the respective frame ID. Add this calculated signal to an event list instrument. Then activate the instrument synchronization. Now you can navigate in the event list from one event to another, and the table instrument will highlight the row with the corresponding payload data. For the next MDA versions, we will continue with further enhancements for the support of CAN bus trace files. For the battery instruments, some adaptations are now supported. All so-called battery instruments show in the upper area an overview of some values derived from all assigned signals. In MDA 8.7.1, this block can be customized. The second tab in the Properties docking window lists the entries. You have the following possibilities, which will be applied immediately. The number of decimals can be set. It is possible to define an alternative text for an entry. And you can decide to show or hide an entry. As often in MDA, the last changes done will be used as default when a new battery instrument is created. Already existing instruments are not affected. Further, there are some slight changes for the battery table instrument. The cell voltage is now displayed graphically as a bar. Moreover, the order of the columns can be changed. And it can be defined which columns shall be visible. Again, the last defined changes will be reused when creating a new battery table instrument. There are two smaller features I'd like to explain on slides only. Based on your feedback and example files for the device mapping dialog, we could identify a shortcoming in our implementation. If a recording is done with Inca, it can happen that for some signals the ECU entry in the MDF file is Inca. This occurs if the data acquisition of a signal is done in multiple raster, while if the recording is done in a single raster, the ECU entry is defined by the entry in the A2L file. Unfortunately, this caused in MDA that the same signal recorded in single or multi-raster seemed to be different signals. As a result, the expected signal mapping failed. Now MDA 8.7.1 treats the ECU entry Inca as a wildcard and can map such signals. On the present slide you can see that another predefined calculation was implemented. Moreover, the usage of the outputs of such calculations was improved. After saving of the function instance, you can drag and drop the output signals directly to an instrument. Or you can even drag and drop the function instance itself to add all outputs in one step. Finally, you can see here the overview of all changes done in MDA version 8.7.1. For more details, please have a look into the What's New slide set. You can find it as well as further information materials both directly in MDA 8 as well as on the ETAS homepage. Thank you for your attention and for your interest in MDA 8.